welcome everyone to Cinema Dopes. We looked at the young Frankenstein, the original Frankenstein, and now we're talking about the Bride of Frankenstein.
He
Yeah.
got married?
Well, no.
Don't get married. Don't get married.
Yeah. I think this movie understood that very well. Don't get married. That's
Consequences of getting married.
yes. We're trying to get married, I guess, in the case of this movie.
Yeah, that's a whole thing. I was very pleasantly surprised with this movie. Um I think obviously this is probably goes without saying, but the original Frankenstein is probably better than this. I personally liked it
Yeah.
more. And I
You like this one more or the
no
original more?
original more.
Oh,
Like
okay.
like original when I was watching, it's like this is pretty good. And then the way the original ended, I was like, holy shit, this is good. And I think the reason why is this. I guess we'll just like get right into it. This movie just kind of diminishes a bit of the original, but also like is a decent sequel. I don't know. It's weird.
hmm Yeah,
'Cause-
no, it definitely is a very weird movie. Like I for once I actually did write down a couple notes about like my thoughts on revisiting Bride because this was actually for the podcast. This was my second time watching Bride of
Mhm.
Frankenstein, and for me, like the top note is how the Bride is just a very weird movie. It's so in a lot of ways different from the previous one, and it's just like so fascinating to me. Just like a lot of aspects of this movie are just like really fascinating to look at. I'm really curious to dive into it because like the more time passes on, the more I just keep thinking about this movie and like the choices they decided to make for the sequel. It's just really fascinating.
Yeah. I thought it was very interesting how technically the book is in some ways canon of Frankenstein because of the way the this movie begins is like, oh
hmm
yeah, I wrote this book about Frankenstein. It's like, but that's not how it actually ended as people remember. And then she like kind of dives into the rest of the story from this perspective, and I'm pretty sure this is the original ending of the original book. Like
Yeah,
they go through both movies with that.
it's been a while since I've read the original novel.
Yeah.
Obviously, reading it back in high school, I actually want like watching these movies got me to want to revisit that book one of these days. Honestly, but
Yeah.
I think that is interesting with the whole like framing device of this movie, like with like Mary Shelley and like all that. Cause I feel like right from the beginning, like that difference in framing devices between like how the first and the second movie like do it, I think that's very indicative of like the kind of movie it wants to be. Because like in the first movie, you have like the one dude on the stage who's like, "Oh, this is gonna be like spooky or whatever." And it's
Yeah.
like there's like a specific like tone that the movie like wants to set in the original one, and like how the movie executes itself like right from that framing device. Whereas in the second movie, it's now like it's starting like on a much like lighter tone, surprisingly, where it's like we see like the author and like just like playing into that more of like I guess like kind of like being aware that this movie wants to like be a captivating story rather than like the first movie kind of had this vibe of like uh I think I was kind of telling Rex this how like it kind of has like a little bit of like a documentary feel to it.
Mm.
Like it's not really like in its filmmaking because it's still like very conventionally like made like a film of the 1930s, but I think in its storytelling I feel like it just has a very like truthful way of it the way it's being told. I thought that was really interesting with the first movie, but then the second movie is just kind of more of like what you would expect a movie like this to like a I guess kind of like what a conventional movie in the genre would be nowadays. It's kind of like its foundations are found here in Bride in a way.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, that's another um I don't I don't know. I it's just there's a lot for me to talk about with this movie, and there are a lot of good things, but I just some there are things in this movie that I feel like they went too far with. and it's mainly with the main antagonist, the Judge Doom looking ass scientist. Um,
Right.
and him like being like, I'm a really big fan of your work, Mr. Frankenstein. I also shrunk people down to these little people. It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. It it definitely feels much more like a fantasy kind of movie in some regards, with
yeah,
aspects with Dr. Pretorius. Like I feel like he uh like I still love him as a character. Like I think he's like a very interesting person, how he just kind of like shows up back into Henry's life at this point, like, hey, I want to start doing like experiments with you, even though like Henry's like, I'm done with this, like I've learned my lesson, I don't want to play God anymore. And Pretorius is just like, but what if we did it again? And I think even like that one scene where he's showing Henry, like what you said, like when he's showing like the little people and like the stuff he's like working with, it's like, I don't know, it's not what I would have expected from a sequel to Frankenstein. Like it feels very campy, I guess, is like what I'm looking
yeah.
for.
That's a good way to describe it. It's very campy the way it goes.
Yeah.
I okay. I will say though, as for the monster itself, everything with the monster is perfect. No
Hmm.
notes. Like I have no issues at all with what they do with the monster and how, and as I said, I'm pretty sure in the first episode, when in the previous episode actually, um when we were talking about original Frankenstein, it's funny to watch this movie now after watching Young Frankenstein and getting the jokes that they got from these two original movies, like with him and the
Uh,
blind man,
mhm.
and like those like references and everything. Like it was nice to see like the originality from it and how much, and it just makes me appreciate Young Frankenstein more with that and how much care they put into that movie to pay homage to both the first two.
Right.
I also
Yeah.
I just find it weird how in the credits it's just Karloff, not Boris
Oh
Karloff,
yeah.
just Karloff.
Yeah.
Like
No,
why?
I think by that point he's kind of like already gained that reputation, I guess that notoriety for like being in movies like, well, I guess, well, I mean at this point it was really just Frankenstein and Bride, because the Mummy didn't, well, actually no, the Mummy came out in 1932, so I guess by this point he was just kind of known as like the guy associated with these Universal monster films. So I guess he kind of earns the moniker in a way.
Yeah, he's like Prince or Madonna or
Mm,
you know.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we've been talking about like kind of like that discrepancy between like the first and second movie, like within its tone and like intention. I know Rex, like that was like definitely something that also like threw you off a bit when we visited Bride for the first time. Uh, I guess like what were your like expectations going into it?
Uh okay, yeah, cuz I'm reflecting on when we first saw the movie 2 years ago when the Fathom event happened,
That was
the
like
double feature.
almost 3 years ago at this point.
Is that
Oh,
3
that's
years
right.
ago?
You guys
Wow,
Yeah.
saw it
okay.
in an actual theater. How was it in a theater, actually? Like, does it
I thought it was
feel?
I thought it was a pretty good presentation. It was a double feature with The Mummy from 1932 and
Ah.
Bride of Frankenstein. And I thought like presentation wise it was like, I know like Fathom Events has like a spotty reputation with their presentation of their
Mm.
movies. Like I think there was like the very infamous time, I don't know if it was that same year in 2022 or like around that, but they re-released the thing, and people just kept like sharing posts online, but like this was like an absolutely like botched re-release of the movie. Like for some reason it was cropped because like the thing is like in scope, but for some reason they like cropped it to like full frame, and it's like,
Oh.
why is the movie cropped, and like it was apparently like super dark and the audio was bad, and like I feel that re-release of the thing, like that really ruined Fathom's like reputation for re-releases. But apparently now they've been like doing like a much better job with them. Like I don't really go to Fathom events too much just because like I don't want to pay $15 to
Mm.
watch a re-release of something because you can't use your like AMC A-list or whatever with Fathom. But
Yeah.
uh, I don't know, when we saw The Mummy and Bride of Frankenstein, I thought it was a good presentation, all things considered.
Yeah,
Mm.
I would agree, at the least, because it started with the Mummy, and I vividly remember I think it was Boris Karloff's first um on-screen moment where he's delivering dialogue, and you could feel the bass of his voice through the whole theater.
Ooh.
Hmm.
And I vividly remember that because of how he was delivering his dialogue, and that really suckered me into that movie. And I feel like I've become I'm a big fan of when was that, 1933 when he did The Mummy?
32.
1932?
Yeah, 32.
Okay,
Mm.
32, yeah. Because so that movie, because they started with that movie.
Hmm.
Um, and that was a great experience for me. And then I feel like um moving to Bride of Frankenstein, I'd I will before I say anything else, I will preface this. I am not a fan of Bride of Frankenstein.
No.
I don't vibe with it. It doesn't gel with me. I don't get why people like it, and I will tell you why. I am a fan
Yeah.
of Frankenstein from 1931. I'm a fan of Dracula from 1931 with Bela Lugosi, and
Hmm.
I'm a fan of The Mummy with Boris Karloff, and I am a fan of uh, The Invisible Man, also directed by James Whale from 1933, I think. Um, and I feel like those four movies, tonally,
Hmm.
are very consistent with each other. That they're each their own concise story, like a 70-minute movie, but
Hmm.
each of them at least have, like, they definitely feel like they have the goal that they are telling a gothic
Hmm.
story.
Yes.
Mm.
And that is part of what's really crucial for me, is that definitely with what Universal was doing with this genre means a lot to me, and that those four movies definitely I vibe with all the way, especially even looking at it from like a retrospective lens, seeing what film was like over
Mm.
I
Yeah.
guess it would be 90 years ago,
Hmm.
95 years ago.
Almost
So
100 now.
that's
Almost 100. That's
yeah,
crazy,
wow,
dude.
yeah, almost 100 years ago now. Yeah. So I feel like out of the pool of those films that Universal was doing, to then go see, and of course I haven't seen all of Universal's catalog of films. I still have a lot of their monster movies to watch. But at least from
Hmm.
my own point of view, going to Bride of Frankenstein felt very tonally inconsistent with the rest of their sort of filmography, and even Bride of Frankenstein feels tonally inconsistent with itself.
Yeah.
And that I am critical of, especially
Hmm.
like the way the film begins, because the beginning of a film is very essential for
Hmm.
establishing tone and setting the right mood, the right atmosphere, which is crucial for any horror film to have the right atmosphere. Because if you don't establish that atmosphere, then you're not going to scare anybody. You're not going to entertain anybody. So I feel like with the way that Bride of Frankenstein is a bit more or like what you guys said, campy.
Yeah.
I feel like that's not necessarily like bad, but I feel like there's plenty of movies that are camp that I enjoy. But for this specific instance, I don't see why that decision was made. I don't see why they had to do that with this movie. Um, and I just, or even because now I'm thinking about like, I'm contrasting like sort of how they begin with like opening the movie, where there's like the aftermath of the windmill being burnt down, but they're also doing like sort of the funny shtick with the what's her name? She was in Invisible Man too. She was also
Oh,
a
Minnie.
maid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mini.
Minnie. Yeah, Minnie,
Yeah.
played by
Una O'Connor.
what's her name?
Yeah.
Yeah, right, yeah. And I feel like I really enjoyed her character in Invisible Man from 1933, but here in Bride of Frankenstein, it feels like it's a bit too much. Like
Insufferable.
it's a bit too much. It feels
Hmm.
weird. It feels like it's like I don't know. It's just it doesn't feel appropriate for me for this movie, especially opening the movie where there's like
Hmm.
the return of the creature. You see that, oh, he's alive, and then but so I feel like that moment doesn't really hit for me because I'm already sort of internally ingesting the funny, like goofy, more jokey aspects of the movie, or even like later, like because I also really enjoy the scene with the blind man, and I feel like that's a very heartfelt moment where finally he has a friend and he has
Hmm.
somebody, and there's the whole like poetic thing. Oh, you're mute, I'm blind, and finally we're friends. I feel like that's a very meaningful scene for me, and I feel like that's a very wonderful thing to put in your movie. But considering the film as a whole, it feels somehow that scene that I enjoy feels out of place given the tone of what the film already established, or even what the film would continue to establish once the monster goes into the crypt, and Praetorius is like he's got the bones and he's like laughing while drinking gin and smoking, and then he's like, "Oh, you're here too, hello." And it's like, what the fuck are you people doing? What is
Yeah.
happening? Is this a sketch comedy? What the fuck are you people What is happening? I just couldn't. I remember in the theater being sort of like in disbelief. Like I couldn't believe. Like, is this the film that people were saying was better than the original? Because that's like a popular opinion to spout on, at least from what I've seen online in the remaining circles of the Universal horror fandom. That's like the whole thing, that it's part of the club of movies where the sequel is better than the original, and it just didn't at all make any sense to me. It didn't. Not to mention, like the whole movie, right? It's called The Bride of Frankenstein, right? And we're dealing with the whole look. He's like they have this whole thing about making a new person, a new version, a new monster. But then she crops up or she finally comes to life at the end of the movie,
Yeah.
and then she's on screen for like 2 minutes, and then that's it. And those 2 minutes are honestly great. I feel like, what's her name? Who played the bride? What was her name?
Oh, that was uh Elsa Lanchester, who also
Elsa.
played. She
Right.
also played Mary Shelley in the opening scene of the
Right.
movie.
Yeah. You
Mm.
can tell by the eyes. Yeah. And it's very, and that's cool. But also, I feel like I just, I mean, and I feel like I do know that her performance is like based off of like she played it almost like if she was playing a bird with how she's physically moving her head
Oh yeah.
around. It's
Yeah.
very bird-like, very almost sort of reptilian, and that I think is really interesting. Seeing that lens into how she was portraying her character. So she's not copying Boris Karloff. She's doing her own thing as her own monster, and that's really interesting. But then you barely even get to see that in the movie. And I mean, not that she should be in the entire movie. There's plenty to focus on in the movie. But I mean, I was just hoping for a bit more than her to just like kind of look around and then hiss, and then the whole thing
Scream.
explodes. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, conveniently the lever, they pull the lever and then the
Yeah,
whole
the
thing blows up. Yeah, that's great.
self-destruct
Yeah.
button.
Who wrote that? Who in the goddamn hell decided to write that into the script? I know this movie has like 3 or 4 different dudes like wrote the script for this movie. I want to know who wrote that, because that's like the most hilarious. That feels like that would be something in a parody movie, like a 2000s parody movie of this like genre of film. This I can't, like it just, and seeing that I was excited to see this in the theater when me and Derek saw it 2 or 3 years ago. But now I just feel like, and even after rewatching the movie a couple of days ago, I just feel disappointed, and I feel baffled that this movie is so different when the next Frankenstein movie, Son of Frankenstein, feels tonally consistent with the original Frankenstein. It feels like, I guess, weird. It's like it skipped a generation. It feels like a weird, like, I don't know what the hell went on. I don't know what went on behind the scenes, with Universal, with their decision making between like 1935 and 1939. I think Son of Frankenstein came out in 1939.
Think
So
so.
there's like a 4-year gap, but I really enjoyed that movie, Son of Frankenstein, and I recommend that you guys also check that out. There's a lot of interesting there's a lot of interesting exploration of the monster, and also to add on to a bit of what you said before, Cade, I thought it was interesting seeing Son of Frankenstein and seeing the elements they took from that movie to make or to put into Young Frankenstein. Because even the way Son of
Mm.
Frankenstein is framed, it's the whole premise of the movie stems from like the town is getting ready to prepare for Baron Wolf Frankenstein's arrival, who he's the son of Henry Frankenstein, and he's bringing his family
Mm.
over, and they're like, "Oh, great, here we go again with this shit," and the Frankenstein doing the crazy contraptions and the sprockets and gears and he's got the castle. Great, we're gonna have to deal with that, and he's trying to be nice to everybody. He's just trying to he's not trying to do anything creepy or weird. He's just trying to live his life there.
Yeah.
But I think it's at least an interesting, and even like in Young Frankenstein, there's the dude with the arm. They got that from Son of Frankenstein, where there's like a guy.
Okay.
And actually, honestly, in Son of Frankenstein, it's actually a really interesting sort of backstory. How he tells his tale of how he lost his arm to the monster as a child, and how he's like telling Wolf how it's like a whole big thing for him, and they establish this sort of bond because Wolf is like, "Oh, damn, dude, I'm sorry." He doesn't say that. That's not verbatim. That's just the vibe I get from the movie. But I just feel like I don't know. It's so strange to me looking at Bride and to see that there's also not. I was just reading an article about the making of Bride of Frankenstein. I'm from what I understand, James Whale did not want to do the movie. He had just
Mm.
done what was that movie? Window of the Pane of Glass. What the hell was that movie he did? Window of a something or other. Oh no, the old Dark House. He did that in
Yeah.
1932, and then they had announced they were gonna do a sequel to Frankenstein, and James Whale was like, "No way, I don't want to do that. I'm not interested. I'm doing The Invisible Man," and so he made that. And then there was still some problems with like getting the script for Bride written, and they had to bring some other dude to write in like the scene with Mary Shelley and Lord Byron, and that whole thing. And
Yeah.
then after that, I think eventually James Whale had a change of heart, and then he directed the movie. And I mean, I don't know. There's interesting things explored in the movie, but I'm just not the movie as a whole. I I just can't get around it. I can't fully. I even own it. I own it on Blu-ray, but I just can't. I can't wrap my head around it. I can't. Maybe one day, but not yet.
Yeah. I
Rant over.
No, no, you're good, man. You're good. I'm glad to hear all this because I frankly, again, frankly,
Frankly,
but yeah, I just,
He called him Frankly.
I just, I don't know how else to describe how I feel about this movie without just going into my own rant of how fucking Minnie is so annoying.
I had a feeling you would say that.
She's so annoying, man. Cause I was so in with this movie. I was so unbelievably in as soon as they were like, all right, we're recapping what happened in the ending of the first Frankenstein movie. I'm like, oh, so this, you can like literally watch these movies back to back. That's very interesting that all the way back then they thought of that ahead of time. It's like, all right, let's just like start where the last movie ended. That's such an interesting idea. And like it makes sense that the monster would still be alive, even though it's a little like, oh, there's a cave underneath the windmill. Yeah, that seems very convenient. But like, what are you gonna do? He's in a circumstance where he should most definitely be dead. You gotta write his way. You gotta bullshit your way out of somehow. And I think what really made it interesting was how far they went with it of like, oh yeah, the monster not only killed the girl in the first movie, he full on killed her entire family. Like he doesn't know it's them, but he just drowns the woman and then he throws the guy into the cave.
Can I actually mention something about the whole family for a second? Because like this was like confusing me when me and Rex were rewatching it. So and
Yeah.
I wrote it all down just so I could keep track of it. So Maria, the girl that's killed in the first movie by the monster by accident,
Hmm.
um, he so her dad in the first movie, his name is Ludwig,
Yeah.
and he was played by an actor named Michael Mark.
Right.
And then in the second movie, for some reason, his name is Hans now, and he's
Yeah.
played by Reginald Barlow. And it's like, what? Like, why did he get recasted? Why does he have a different name? But Maria still has the same name. She's still the same little girl that died. And it's like, why? Like, it's like weird decisions like that like make me so baffled. Like, why is this movie like this? Like,
I don't
they change his
know.
name?
I don't know.
Yeah.
They changed Victor Frankenstein to Henry Frankenstein for the movies.
Yeah,
I don't get
that
it.
was confusing me so much rewatching the first one the other day because I was like thinking like, wait, isn't it Victor Frankenstein?
That's the same exact thought I had.
But his friend is named Victor and his
Yeah.
name's
Right.
Henry now. It's like
Yeah, and
Yeah, no, there's not a good deal of continuity in any of these movies. Even since I just last night I watched Son of Frankenstein, and there's this one dude. What the hell was his name? He was a character in this movie, but then in like the movie after that, which is Ghost of Frankenstein. He's also in that movie, but also as a different character because that's like a thing they reuse their own actors and or even in Bride there's Dwight Fry who's he plays a different character in Bride just because he's a great actor, but he plays Dr. Pretorius's assistant gravadigger sort of dude, and he gets
his
killed.
Igor pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. His little helper, his little munchkin, his little dude, his little goblin. So
His little pals, his
and
bud.
that doesn't exactly bother me. And I'm sure like at the time that was something audiences maybe expected, just because that's how Universal was making their movies. But I feel like looking back, it's like why though? Like it feels like even though I guess now that's especially a modern thing with keeping like very strict continuity to make sure everything makes sense and everything's all your ducks are all in a row. So but now it's just like it feels also like because that was bothering me while me and Derek were rewatching Bride, where I was like, isn't his name why do they change his name? That's so inconsequential. So why even why bother changing it? Why bother changing it in the first place? I don't understand why they had to do that. Or even the one dude, the burgomaster from the first movie,
Burgomaster,
I think is
yeah.
played by a different guy in Bride. And but then in Son of Frankenstein, he's back in the movie, the same actor, but he's a different character, I think. So I'm like, what? What are you people doing? What the hell? Who is the casting director? Who is the producer? Who's making these decisions? I don't understand.
Fucking Henry's like love interest is a different actress too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Elizabeth?
Yeah. I didn't realize that at first, and I was like, wait, yeah, she's a different actress.
She's
now.
completely
Different hair color,
different
too.
hair
Not even the
color
same
completely. Yeah.
They couldn't even get that right. They couldn't even make her a blonde.
No.
Maybe they forgot.
They forgot, yeah.
But they came back with Boris Karloff as the monster, though. They got that right.
Because he's the big money. He's the big.
He's the big
draw.
name.
He's the guy that gets people into the seats. So you gotta have him.
They just kept him in the costume all those years, just so they wouldn't forget.
He's on the set of the Mummy, just like, can I please take this off? No.
No, Boris. No.
No, Boris.
Not until we finish the movie. And then you get to go outside.
It took us 3 days to put that makeup on. You're keeping it on for as long as we say.
You're keeping it on until the lights melted off. You're getting paid. We feed you. We give you water. We give you clothes. You'll accept anything.
That's just the production of The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, that hurts. Oh.
I'm sorry, too soon.
1939. It's too
We're in
soon.
the 40s. Too soon. Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, just to get back to the movie and get back to my original point, and it goes off of what you were saying before, Rex, how tonally it's way off. The reason why it's way off is because of Minnie. If she is not in that movie, I feel like Bride of Frankenstein is just as good as it is the way it continues off of the Frankenstein story, but it constantly cuts to her. It constantly cuts to her screaming or yelling at someone like, "The monster's real! The monster's real!" It's like, shut up. Shut up, you old
Yep.
bag. Like,
Even watching the movie, I was kind of like envisioning in my mind, like, could you make a cut of like both movies like together and cut out like
Yeah.
all of the
yes.
mini stuff and like other things? Like, I feel like maybe it's possible. Like, I was like thinking of maybe doing that myself. Like, I don't know,
I
just to
Yeah,
see.
I
Like,
was also thinking that.
I
Yeah, I
think
was thinking that watching the movie.
the only scene you need Minnie is when she is talking to the one cop. That is it. And when she like sees the
Yeah.
monster. Those are the only two scenes you need with her. You don't need her talking to the love interest. You don't need her talking to Henry. You don't need her talking to any of the other villagers. You don't. She's just someone that was walking around in the forest and she saw the monster and then she panicked and ran to the first police officer she found.
Or wait, what was that one lady who was like in like her front yard and that she sees her daughter and she screams and then it cuts to Minnie and she's like, "Mrs. Garrison, it's her." Like you recognized her from her scream?
Yeah.
What? Does she do that often? That you just ran over to her house after the screaming?
Yeah,
What the hell
right?
was that? Why did you have that in the movie? Why?
Oh my god, dude. It's seriously, she is what really brought down a lot of that movie. And I think it's so like it's so bad that that is the reason why, because as soon as she's out of the movie and right after you have the silly ass fucking tiny people scene, it's just like, what are we doing here? What is happening here? And then it goes back to the monster and then it's just like, all right, this is good. This is what I want to see. And then it's just like it's almost an hour of Henry being like, "Oh, I'm morally like just morally not really want to do this," and to the point where it's basically like movie Frankenstein just met Victor Frankenstein from the fucking book. That's basically what it is. That's what it is. And I just I really liked. I tried to like this movie. I tried, and there's a lot I like. Fuck, there's so much bad in this. There's
It's such a weird mix of it's like a mix of sweet and sour and like
yes.
very like extreme punches right to the mouth and it's like god, I can't take it all at once, guy. You gotta ease it up. Now I will say I do think that maybe if we had Minnie's the character of Minnie in Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein, maybe that actually
Yeah.
that would work actually pretty well
Mhm.
because I haven't seen that movie. I haven't seen Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein, but just given by like the title or what I've seen of like the poster or what, that feels like exactly the kind of thing that should be in that movie. That feels because that's what you would expect in like that kind of like a horror comedy, you know. So, but in this movie, it's just like, oh, okay, calm down there, Minnie, calm down. We don't
Right.
we don't need that right now. We don't need all this. I don't understand what I don't under and you know I feel like a big reason why she was in Bride of Frankenstein was probably because she had worked with James Whale for Invisible Man, where plays kind of like a similar character, but she's not in Invisible Man. She's not just like screaming all the time. Her character is actually really has an interesting sort of connection with the doctor in that movie and how she's like because he's staying at like her uh, uh place or whatever, her hotel bar thing or whatever. He's like staying at a room there and she has to like bring him his dinner and he's like, leave me to my experiments, I
Yeah.
can't be seen ever. And she's like, well, okay, fine that. And I feel like she's hilarious in that movie, but in this movie it's like it's like seeing a comedian resort to like switch up from like being like a really hilarious performer to then falling back on the loudest funny sort of thing in like a comedy. It's like,
Sticking
dude, come
to
on, like you don't have to.
sticking to like their best material that got the most laughs. is what it
Right,
feels like. It's like
Yeah.
at some point it's gonna be like, well, like you got to come up with something new.
yeah, it gets old. Gets old quick, especially if you keep repeating it for like throughout the movie. It's like, come on, come on. We could have written some other jokes here. Like, come on, writers. Come on,
Well,
writers. What were you on strike? Were the writers on strike making this movie? Come on. What the
I
hell
don't
are we
know.
doing here?
Maybe. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if there was a writer's strike back then.
I don't know. I guess I gotta look into the making of Bride of Frankenstein just out of sheer curiosity why specific decisions were made or why things were like why. That's my
Yeah.
question with this movie. Just why? Why? It's
Yeah.
such an iconic movie and I don't I don't get it. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm one of the youngins. I don't know. Maybe I'm just it's beyond my time. I don't know.
I can
Yeah.
get the reason why, but sorry, Derek. What were you gonna say?
I mean, well, I think the reason why is kind of like what I said a bit at the beginning about how I feel like the movie, at least like now, because I feel like more of like its reputation is because of the reprisal now, like post the movie's VHS release in the 80s. I feel
Mm.
it's like now people's like reevaluation
Oh.
of the movie because like, people liked it back then, but I feel like within the last like 40 years ish is like when people like really started to like this movie and like it got put into the Library of Congress and everything. And
Mm.
I think it's just because it's a movie that feels very, at least like compared to the original Frankenstein, it just feels like more conventional, I guess. I don't know, like
Hmm.
uh it's like it this is definitely like, at least to me, this isn't like a gothic movie. Like outside of like
No. No.
outside of
No.
uh the art direction carrying over from the original, when it comes to the content of the movie itself and the story, like this is not like a gothic horror anymore. Like this, like that has been like thrown out the window. But there's like a lot of stuff in this movie that I feel like has like eased its way into like horror as a genre, like as a whole. This and this being like a foundational thing. Like I feel this is like a movie that like maybe like some uh filmmakers who were like very inspired by a lot of like later like B movies of like the 50s and stuff. Like maybe they like also like went back to something like this and took inspiration from, just because of like how out there this movie can be. And I think just and then I think just for moviegoers in general, I think they've just like grown a soft spot for like what kind of movie this is. But
Hmm.
it very much is different from like what the ideas and goals of the original Frankenstein are. And I think in the way that kind of leads me to like to my defense of the movie, because it's yeah, like I'm so weird where it's like I agree with like everything that you guys are saying. Like
Hmm.
there is stuff in this movie that's so weird and does not work, but at the same time it's like I'm so fascinated by this movie that I kind of love it because of that. Like it's
Yeah.
like I think I was telling Rex about like when we were watching it. I like in a way this movie kind of reminds me of like those weird sequels like Gremlins 2 or Joker Folie à Deux, where it's like it just like throws the first one like almost like completely out the window and just like goes like completely in a different direction. It's like the most like bonkers thing. It's like, why is the movie like this? And I kind of just I always have respect for those kind of movies. Like those movies are just like so fascinating to me, and I feel like Bride is definitely along those lines. But at the same time, there's also like still like, even like as you guys said, there's like still like little pieces of like what made the original also work too that are in here too. That I think for me, like I still walk away like really enjoying this movie despite like how how weird and inconsistent this movie is.
Hmm.
It's
Right.
just so fascinating to me. Like I'd rather this than like them trying to like doing like Frankenstein 2, and it's like, oh, it's the same movie again, and like it just like falls flat because it's like we did this already, and like it doesn't like try to like explore new things like within the story. It just like tries to like recapture the same thing again. Like no, this movie is just like weird. Like it's just like full on like a weird movie, and like I kind of respect that.
And in Frankenstein 2, he fights a bigger, darker version of Frankenstein's monster.
The EO Frankenstein's monster. No, wait, what's a good the mega Frankenstein. He has
Frankenmonger.
Super
to
Mega
fight.
Frankenstein.
Yeah, He has to fight the Frankenheimer.
Frankenheimer?
He has to battle to the death. Which Franken
Yeah.
will be the most Frank out of all of them? I'm gonna take this opportunity to talk about the genre because a lot of early film owes much to uh, dark fantasy, the
Mhm.
dark fantasy genre, which the dark fantasy genre grew out of the Gothic literature of the 18th century. And anyone who's got a brain can fact check me on that, and correct me if you will. But one thing that I do want to mention is how a lot of gothic horror has to deal with like a sort of internal conflicts and mental deterioration, and usually there's like some dude who's got like he's got something to do, but he's locked in his mansion or castle, such as perhaps this film. And we're dealing with the subconscious mind. We're exploring the subconscious mind and trying to pin civilized behavior against primal instinct, and perhaps suggest that maybe man and beast are not so different. So I think that's definitely a gothic theme in this movie, that we see Henry being so adamant that he doesn't want to do what he's doing. He doesn't want to he wants to move on with his life, but he can't. And so, or that I would say that's a theme of oppression, given that Dr. Pretorius is sort of strong arming him into doing all this shit. So I feel like that's interesting to me, that is in there, that is in there. Or even gothic horror explores themes of oppression against women, and how women are oppressed. Usually there's like some sort of political figure, from what I remember of my research, there's some political figure that's forcing a young woman to remain in her house, or something, or in her village or town or whatever, and she's also simultaneously like expecting a child, because Gothic horror explores birth and death. So there's
Mhm.
usually a woman who's expecting a child, and or she's already like 9 months pregnant and about to have the baby or something. And so that I do like that, at least with the bride, we get to explore a bit of what her experience is like, being forced to come to life, and with the intent purely to be the what do they call it, the mate of
The
the
main,
monster.
yeah.
And she doesn't like it at all. She is not with that idea at all. She doesn't like him at all. She thinks he is fucking gross. And I like that they
She
kept that
hate
in the
me.
she hate me. And I love that they kept that. They didn't immediately have her like go toward him, and they didn't do any of that like hokey love story kind of bullshit. They had her immediately reject the monster. And I feel like that made me wish that they explored that character a bit more, into her finding her own individuality, her own sort of her own space in as a monster in the universal sort of pantheon of characters. And that was one thing I did mention. Son of Frankenstein before, and how I enjoyed that movie. I was kind of disappointed that she did not return in that movie. That she wasn't even mentioned. They didn't
Mhm.
even talk. They go on and on about how Henry Frankenstein made his monster and that terrorized the village. But then they don't say anything about the bride. Like, that's like, I mean, like, come on, man. She became, because now I'm thinking this is the big test for any, like, to see if your movie character has become an icon. Look at any television show that came out like 10, 20, 30 years after the movie came out, and see who's dressing up as what character, or what's like a reference to that character, because there are definitely a lot of references to the bride, well, with her hair, the lightning
Mhm.
bolt style, gray patch in her hair. That became an iconic thing, and you can see that in I can't think of any specific instances, but that definitely became a thing even before what you mentioned, Derek, the whole VHS thing, because that I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
The whole physical release of the movie, I think, definitely helped with its popularity,
Mhm.
but I
Mhm.
think also there were still elements that were popular even in our culture that because of just the bride, just her look. I mean, you don't really get much else of her other than her just standing around. But at least she became an icon in her own right, and I'm happy about that. At the very least, I enjoy that.
That's fair. Quick praise for this movie that I think is very fair to say. The movie still looks gorgeous. Like
Oh
just
yeah.
like the first one.
Yeah,
It
I feel like this one played a lot more with depth.
yes, it
Like I
did.
feel like because I was just thinking that, like I don't really have anything conclusive about this aspect of the movie, but I felt there's a lot of like Christian imagery in this movie, like especially like with like a lot of like the silhouettes and like the like with like the graveyard and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And I just like I think like a lot of those things of like when like the villagers like walking through and like trying to find him, and like I feel like that like contrast like the first movie, like how that movie was shot and like designed. I feel like this one like plays a lot more with depth. Like there's a lot more stuff in, like the foreground and like in the background as well, and like the way that characters kind of like maneuver through these settings, I feel like is a uh, it makes the world feel like it kind of like pops out a bit more. So I will say that like I think like the movie, like at least like in the art direction, like I felt there definitely was an understanding of like how do we like evolve from the previous one in terms of like what we can do with
Mm.
like the style like
Hmm.
and the filmmaking. So I thought that was a really fascinating aspect of the movie.
Right. Or even close-ups. They did plenty of
Oh
close-ups in
yeah.
this movie at Dutch
Hmm.
angles, and
Oh
it
yeah.
it felt very
I
Yeah.
disorienting. I like that. Yeah.
I absolutely love how like the last like 15 to 20 minutes in the movie are shot. Like I love like the end, like all those like all the Dutch angles, like it looks so good.
Right.
I love how that looks.
And they're
Yep.
also sweaty too. It's like it's
Hmm.
really amping up that there are stakes to what's happening to their new creature. It's like very. I thought that was really great. I thought that was fantastic. Or even you brought up earlier, or not earlier actually, when we were watching the movie, Derek, about the timpanis.
Oh yeah, 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 and
Hmm.
I think that's kind of like a good segue into the score. Because that was like something like that was like the first thing I immediately noticed when I watched these two movies for the first time a couple years back, was like how the first movie basically doesn't have a score accompanying the movie, but the second one does, and it's a lot more prominent and is like utilized like much more. I thought that was like really fascinating, and specifically how it plays into the scene, like when they're bringing the bride to life, and like how initially like they use like the timpani, like the one drum, as like the sound of like the bride's heart and like her heart rate, and
Yeah.
then like when the score kicks in for like all this excitement of like, oh, she's coming to life, like we're getting the machine ready and like all this like stuff is going on, and the tempo of the track like increases, so, like the timpani is like the driving force like of that track, and like it like
Hmm.
gets faster and faster, and then like once like everything is done and they're lowering the bride back into the room, it like slows down, like the BPM like slows down and like matches like the heart rate, and like I just like that synchronization I thought was like really really cool. uh but again, like still at the same time, it's like the whole score thing is like I think that's another like big contrast of the first
Yeah.
movie, because it's like now this movie is this like big grand like epic thing, like all this stuff is going on, as opposed to like how the first movie I feel like that was like a very intentional move to like to not score the
Yeah.
movie. um,
Right.
I mean, also, but at the same time, maybe that was like a budget thing. Maybe just couldn't get like a orchestra to do it. I don't know, but I like to believe it was an intentional thing, not to have a score for the original Frankenstein.
I think
And
I think that was just common. That was common practice for movies overall to not really have much of a
yeah,
score.
because
Because keep in mind, back in 1931, sound in film only really existed for 4 years at that point.
hmm
And
Yeah.
yeah,
so their main focus was dialogue. Because keep in mind, Foley did not exist.
right,
Sound design
Hmm.
didn't really exist. They had sound effects, sure, but it was sort of like more of a, that was the last part of the filmmaking process, really, is to tack on a few sounds at the end of the movie that were important to the story, but then nothing else. So it was just all dialogue, and I think it's really only the opening and ending credits that had music, that had fanfare. So
Yes.
yeah,
because you can even look at Dracula from 1931 too. That's another, universal horror film that really benefits from not having any score at all through the movie, because it helps it feel, or it gives credence to the atmosphere that it's building up in the movie, because it's not reminding you that you're watching a movie. It really feels like it's actually happening. And
Mhm.
which is not to say that a film score is terrible. I think there are definitely a lot of moments where a film score really helps a movie, or but I feel like with Bride, at the very least, there's bits of the score that I personally like, I think work with the movie, but there's other bits of the score that remind me of that one track they use in SpongeBob where he's kind of mischievous or like goofy, or like ba 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 ba
Tomfoolery.
ba ba. Yeah, exactly. It feels like that, like when the monster meets Dr. Praetorius and he's like laughing at Bones. That part of the score reminds me. It felt like I was suddenly watching a cartoon, but it wasn't a cartoon. It was real. It was with real people, and that's Boris Karloff, and he's the monster. And it's like, what? Why did we have to have a score for that part of the movie? Did we need that? Did we need that little jumpy little bit of the score there to help the movie? Why? I don't understand. See, now I'm in my loop again. I don't understand. Why did they do that? I don't understand. I don't
I,
know.
I
It feels so strange to me. Derek, what do you think?
I was gonna say also the thing with like the first movie and like its like absence of a score. I think that also might be in
Oh yeah.
relation to how, well, when again like how the movie was made, but also like in the time it was too, because I feel like that also reflects uh kind of like a stage play, because it's like
Right.
a lot of like theaters, like you'll have like the overture play, like the pit band will play the overture at the beginning as like the people come in, like take their seats in the theater, and the play begins. Like maybe you'll have like an overture play once. I think there's like an actual like term for it, like when the overture plays also again at the end. Like same thing with Frankenstein. It's like you have like the bookends with like the theme, but the entire film is like without a score. And I
Right.
also know with like early cinema as well that like before like the advent of sound, uh you would have like a live pit orchestra like score the movie that's like being shown on screen. Uh like I know that was a very common thing back then. So
Mm.
Right.
um
Yeah. We should do more research about why that might be, or I wonder when was the first movie that really had like an intense score throughout the film.
mhm.
I do wonder about that. That's not a musical, because that's a
Yeah.
different. I feel like that's a
Right.
Oh
different
Yeah.
yeah.
category. A movie that's a musical, that's like a different thing. There's different artistic intent. There's a different purpose. So yeah, I do wonder about that. And that's a smart point, Derek. Because I mean, especially a lot of even silent film owes a lot to theater. Because
Mhm.
it was such a new medium that I feel like there'd be a lot of questions of like, well, what do we do? How do we do this? How are people going to respond to the thing we're making? So I feel like you can trace back a lot of these elements back to theatrical productions, or even the kind of stories that they're making out of movies. A lot of those are adaptations of a lot of silent movies are adaptations of stage plays or something, or even I think even maybe this movie, Bride of Frankenstein, might have been based off of like a stage play or something of Frankenstein. I'm not sure. I forget, but um, yeah, I do think that's an interesting corner of our sort of our film history.
Mm. Yeah. Um, I don't really have much else to say about this movie, but I have one detail I do want to talk about with you two. So you
Oh
know how in this movie you got people with guns, right? Like full on,
yeah, rifles.
yeah,
Yeah,
and rifles. Where was that in the first movie? Where was
that's what
that?
I was thinking. Yeah.
Where, because in the continuity of this movie, and I get it, like maybe continuity is not like the best thing to think of,
No. Yeah.
but it's funny how in like 4 years after the first Frankenstein movie, they're like, oh yeah, this town has guns now. It's like,
they
oh,
all have guns.
they all have guns. They upgraded really well from pitchforks and torches and all that to full on machine guns or rifles.
Yeah, I guess I wonder if maybe a practical reason for that was that maybe the studio was making a different movie that was using all of their prop guns. So and for this movie, maybe they weren't sure it was gonna do well or not, and they figured, well, okay, we're not gonna have those props on set, or maybe that was perhaps an artistic choice, maybe because I know James Whale was he had just done a few war movies and had done the first Frankenstein to get away from doing those kind of war movies. So I wonder if maybe he
Mm.
intentionally had the props department not have any, rifles or pistols or anything like that. Or maybe it could even be a thing with the writing, being that they're all like farmers, so they would have torches and pitchforks because they're not. It's not like all of them. Well, actually, no. I feel like farmers would have guns, right? They would have guns
Maybe
to go hunting, to shoot a raccoon or a squirrel or something, or
maybe
or to put the dog down, to put old Yeller down. So of course they would have guns.
Jesus.
That's that's what. Why would they not have? I don't know.
I
Actually,
don't know,
Maybe we
man.
should go back. We should go back and look at the movie now to see if maybe in the corner of the frame or somewhere there's
just
like
a
one dude with a gun.
there's just a gun on a wall, like in a random barn. There's a gun in old Marie's house, just like on the wall that the dad didn't take.
Yeah, in the corner or by the window or by
Yeah,
the
yeah.
door, above the door, under a table, anywhere. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not even a sword either. I don't think there was anyone with a sword in the movie. I feel like that would be that feels gothic, right? Someone pulls out a sword and tries to stab the monster. That would have been good. They could
Yeah,
have done that.
maybe it was too expensive.
Maybe. Yeah.
Oh, too expensive for Universal Pictures. Oh,
Well,
it's a
during
Universal Picture. We don't have swords here. We're not allowed.
yeah, we just barely got our big boom and a bunch of money back from Dracula and Frankenstein. We don't got the money for swords. You idiot.
We got to put the money in our pockets to make more movies. I mean, to have more movies. I mean, we're gonna make even more Frankenstein movies.
What?
Even more Frankenstein movies until all of you die. Frankenstein movies. I think even still, like to this day, the amount of Frankenstein movies has still not beaten the amount of Tarzan movies that were being
Oh
made
yeah,
way
Yeah,
back in the
yeah.
day. Oh my god. That's
Cinema Dope
impossible.
Tarzan series one.
No. I'm
No.
not trying to start anything. No. I'm not starting anything. No. Come on. We can't have that there. We can't have that here. No. I'm sorry. I didn't pretend I said nothing. Pretend I said nothing. I did. Who's Tarzan? I've never seen Tarzan. I don't even know who that is.
Two
I
worlds,
don't know
one
who that
family.
is.
What's that?
Bill Collins, who's that?
Yeah, who that?
Bill Collins? What? So who? What? Who?
Go check. Turk. Who they? But yeah.
Edgar Rice Burroughs.
Call me Phil Howard Collins.
Call me Phil Sour Collins. Oh my god. Is there anything else we want to talk about with this movie?
Derek, do your iconic Frankenstein impression.
Oh, look at me! I'm Frankenstein. Oh, I think I'm better than anyone. I'm so green. Is he green?
On the
I can't really-
posters, he is. Yeah.
Frankenstein.
I guess that's close enough.
I think that was a thing to. I think they actually did paint Boris Karloff green. I think they painted his skin green, and then any shadows were painted purple.
Yes.
Just because.
Yes.
Because they wanted to. Because that would change how, even though it's a black and white film, that changes how his skin would look in black and white, at least. So I think the effort was to make him look like a dead person, like a corpse, like an undead sort of monster, to make him stand out. And honestly, it does in both, or I guess really in all the films. He does have like a certain shade to him that's a bit paler than everybody else, and it also helps when you see the darker parts, like his eyes or his fingertips, how they're very dark, and I think that's That was really interesting because I love that about his fingernails, how they're all black and sort of decaying. I really like that. That feels like a really interesting element that they got to bring that back. They got Guillermo,
Guillermo.
do that with your movie, Guillermo.
Guillermo.
You goaded me. I
You
can't
go,
believe it,
you
Guillermo.
go
You're the
there. You
goat.
go to meet the What's Bride of Frankenstein. You go there.
Guillermo, eating your dry poops down there. I can't believe you, Guillermo. Look, Guillermo, she is stirring. Guillermo, hello, Madeline. Madeline. Oh wait, wrong
Nandor,
movie. Wrong movie.
Nandor. I'm just imagining Nandor in that scene with the bride of her like looking around and it's like, "Hello, Madeline." Dip, 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 dip.
Oh, she is screaming at me. Oh no. Oh, they blew up the queso. Oh no. What are we going to do? Guillermo, clean this up right now. I can't be seeing this. Oh, my great, 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 great granddaughter. Oh no. They blew it up. They pulled the letter and they blew it up. That's not his accent. That's like a little European man. Oh no, they blew up the queso. No. Oh wait, that's just Mario actually. Oh no, a princess. They blew up the queso. Oh no, how will I complete my experiments? Oh, wahoo! Oh no! Oh, what happened? Oh, Toad, what are you doing here? Oh no, Toad, I'm going to help you get better. Bzz, zzz, zap, zap. Ah, Mario! Ah, I'm the undead Toad now. Yeah, I'm going to attack people. Oh no, Toad, please, please, Toad, don't kill him. Oh fuck. Luigi, kill him, please. Luigi, get this man. I can't fucking bear to see anymore. Oh,
Wah! Just Wario gets dragged away by Toad.
fuck me. Oh, what have I
Where
done
am I?
wrong? Mario did up again. Whatever am I? That's gonna be in the next Mario game where they do the Universal Monster
Oh,
crossover.
I think it's just gonna be the next Frankenstein movie.
I thought you were gonna say the
Like,
next
well-
Mario movie.
Frankenstein's
Well, I mean-
Mario.
It's not out of the question. I mean, they're both Universal movies. I mean,
There's no shot in the Super Mario Bros. Movie you're gonna have Chris Pratt talking to Frankenstein. All right, I refuse to believe it.
wait. Actually, I guess while we're here, I think maybe this will be the last thing. But since we're talking about Frankenstein,
Yeah.
I gotta mention this now
What's up?
because I guess as the Shrek person, I gotta bring this up, like an idea I've had
Please.
for a while now.
Okay.
Because like so like
Frankenstrek?
yeah, I mean kind of so like since like we've been talking about like Shrek 5 the last couple of years, and people are like well, what are they gonna do for like the next Shrek movie? And like since like they're always like rooted in like fairy tales and like nursery rhymes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was thinking like since like Shrek is like officially like a Universal property now, like what if like they did some sort of thing with the Universal monsters as like the next Shrek movie? Because like not as like adaptations of like the Universal monsters like themselves, but like the fact that they're like based off of like novels. And like since like there's a lot of like literary references like in the Shrek universe, like what if
Oh,
that
that's
became like a new like realm of like far away is like these like characters exist like Dracula and the Wolfman and the Invisible Man, like they just like exist like in far away.
They can show up
I don't
an
know,
epic universe.
And like I feel like hey, Universal already makes movies with these characters. Like I feel like I don't know, I feel like that would be like a good opportunity. Because like I just kept thinking like who would be the villain of like a new Shrek movie? Because
That
like
would be a really good villain, actually.
I don't know,
Yeah.
I just feel like it would be a cool thing to introduce, like that like aspect of the Shrek mythos.
Derek,
And I feel like it wouldn't be out of
Derek.
place.
Derek, I think you just earned yourself $300 million, my friend. That's a blockbuster idea. Shrek versus Frankenstein's
Yes,
monster.
it's right there. It's
It'll
right
be- Come
there.
on. They're both green. Come on. They're both green and tall and kind of gross. Yeah.
They both go.
gotta say that.
"Arr! Arr!"
Oh, you're gross. Oh, I can't believe you're in front of.
I actually, it's funny you mentioned that because I literally wrote down, a note saying also the monster sounds like Shrek when he grunts, like specifically when like he like gets grabbed during the Fiona and Farquaad's wedding. He's like, "Arr! Arr!" Oh my
Oh,
god.
get away from me, you giant monster!
Now kiss
Wait,
me.
my internet friends named me King. See? Wait, Derek, do your iconic Shrek impression.
Oh boy.
Oh, look at me. I'm Shrek. I'm the scariest thing ever. Oh, look at me. I have a friend named Donkey. Oh, I'm so perfect.
Spot on.
Where's the ogre? Where's the onion? You're missing some of the onion, Shrek. Come on, get
Oh,
some onion flavor
you
in
don't
there.
you don't even eat onions. You don't even try. Ugh. I eat all the onions.
Oh, you ate all me onions, Frankenstein. What are you doing? Where's all your torches and pitchforks and onions? Does he eat onions? No, he doesn't eat onions. The monster does not eat onions.
No.
Or maybe he does. I don't know.
All he does is drink wine.
Drink
Oh,
wine,
yeah.
smoke cigars.
Yeah,
Good.
you know he eats the cigars.
He swallows the cigar. Eats it like corn on the cob.
He eats it like how some people eat fucking hot dogs. Just holds his.
Yeah,
The
me.
whole thing, the whole shebang.
Yeah, me. Oh. All right. I think that's a good way. That's a good point to end right there. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to us talk about Bride of Frankenstein. Yeah, you know, all the bells and whistles, with all the things to subscribe to, and like all the buttons and all that. We'll see you all next time when we take a look back at the current year of 2025, the pre-summer blockbuster hits plus some more stuffs next time. Goodbye.
Peace.
Arg. Arg. Arg.